I don't usually do trigger warnings, but this one contains a pretty lengthy discussion of a scene involving a suicide attempt, so I thought I should forewarn you.
It's against the law. Go. It was against the law. What your mama saw. It was against the law.
After a long, fulfilling life full of iconic work, Gene Hackman passed away recently at the age of 95. Since we lost this titan of the silver screen, there's been a lot of discussion about Hackman's greatest roles. Hackman played many unforgettable characters throughout his career. Popeye Doyle in The French Connection, Lex Luthor in Superman, Harry Cole in The Conversation, Little Bill in Unforgiven, Senator Kevin Keeley in The Birdcage. But my favourite Gene Hackman performance will always be his hilarious, heartfelt turn as the flawed but lovable Patriarch in Wes Anderson's bittersweet tragicomedy The Royal Tenenbaums.
What'd you think, Dad?
Didn't seem believable to me.
Well, did you at least think the characters were well developed?
What characters? There's a bunch of little kids there dressed up in animal costumes.
Good night, everyone.
Bottle Rocket and Rushmore had already established a lot of Anderson's trademarks like quirky humour, soundtrack needle drops, and Owen Wilson. But The Royal Tenenbaums solidified what we now know as his signature style. It was Anderson's first movie with pastel colours, meticulous symmetrical framing, and a huge, sprawling ensemble cast. The Tenenbaums are a family of child prodigies, a tennis star, a business whiz, and a playwright extraordinaire. Their outward success masks their interior pain and dysfunction.
Was that our fault?
No. Oh, obviously, we made certain sacrifices as a result of having children, but no, Lord, no.
The cast is a nice mix of Anderson regulars and one-off collaborators who really ought to work with Anderson again. Gwyneth Paltrow is delightfully deadpan as Margot, Owen Wilson is delightfully doofy as Eli Cash, and Angelica Houston is the ideal mom as the warm, caring, compassionate Ethelene Tenenbaum. Bill Murray gives the most low-key, most un-Bill Murray-like performance of his entire career, and as one of the only normal people in the movie, Danny Glover is a great comic foil for the Tenenbaum craziness. Ben Stiller delivers a perfect Wes Anderson performance as Chaz Tenenbaum. He gives beautifully dry deliveries of all the one-liners and he throws himself into all the slapstick gags, but in every scene he also manages to capture the pain and sadness behind his eyes. I think it's one of Stiller's best performances. Chaz has recently lost his wife in a plane crash and the grief has manifested as obsessive paranoia about his son's safety. He's got them going to the gym more than Dwayne Johnson.
How often has he got you working out?
16 times a week.
He subjects them to random fire drills in the middle of the night, and he moves them back to his mum's house when his anxiety gets the better of him. All throughout the film, Stiller perfectly plays both Chaz's depression and his deep denial that he's depressed. Everyone else can see that he's not doing well.
I think you're having a nervous breakdown!
In one particularly heartwarming scene, his son comes over to lie with him because he can see his dad needs to be comforted. But Chaz can't see it himself. When he eventually suffers the loss he's been dreading as Eli runs over his dog Buckley, Chaz finally faces the fact that he's not okay and he needs help, and he reaches out to the one person he's been pushing away through the whole movie. Stiller gives a really powerful line reading that encapsulates the character and the emotional journey he's been on.
I've had a rough year, Dad.
I know you have, Chazzy.
Everyone in the Tenenbaums ensemble is brilliant, but they're all playing second fiddle to Hackman. He owns this movie. Only Hackman could make a character this despicable, this lovable. Royal neglected his children, stole from his son, and lies to his whole family about having a terminal illness. But thanks to Hackman's performance, he's still charming, endearing, and really, really funny. Hackman plays Royal as a flawed person who's trying his best to become a better person and mostly failing miserably. He says terribly insulting things with a complete lack of self-awareness, like he doesn't realize he's doing anything wrong. His flaws are so deeply entrenched that he has to do a lot of mental rewiring to break his unscrupulous habits. But the key thing is that he's trying. Royal reminds me of Michael Scott in Scott's Tots. He does a terrible thing with good intentions. He has a nice idea to do the right thing, but he goes about it in a horribly misguided way. Royal deceives his estranged family into thinking he's dying of cancer in order to reconnect with them. When the lie is discovered and he has nothing left to hide behind, Royal makes an honest, last-ditch attempt to connect with his family, this time without any bullshit pretense. And they can see he's genuinely trying and finally let him in. His turn to becoming more sincere and less self-centered is captured beautifully when Royal is kicked out of the house and tells his family the last 6 days have been the best of his life. Alec Baldwin's narrator tells us that immediately after saying this, Royal realized it was true.
The last 6 days have been the best 6 days of probably my whole life.
Immediately after making this statement, Royal realized that it was true.
He's so used to lying to his family and twisting every situation for his own gain that he even surprises himself when he tells the truth and feels something real.
This closeness to death has had a profound effect on me. I feel like a different person, I really do.
Dad, you were never dying.
But I'm gonna live.
The incestuous Richie-Margot romance makes some people uncomfortable, and I completely understand why. It makes me pretty uncomfortable too. But that discomfort is what makes it dramatically interesting. It's not a Hollywood romance, it's more like a French film. From Pauline at the Beach to Kung Fu Master, French cinema is full of inappropriate love stories designed to make the audience slightly uncomfortable. It's a way of drawing you into a perspective you wouldn't normally consider. If it was just about some lonely guy who's in love with a woman who doesn't love him back, then it'd be the same story you've seen a million times. But if the woman is the guy's adopted sister, suddenly it's something you've never seen before, and it's a lot more messy and complicated. Anderson approaches this taboo subject from a non-judgmental standpoint. Richie's love for Margot feels totally real. It's illustrated perfectly when Margot steps off the Green Line bus and Richie sees her for the first time in a while, and all his romantic feelings come flooding back. All the surrounding noise fades away as Anderson drops the needle on These Days, and Richie gazes longingly at the object of his unrequited love. You don't have to agree with it, but you believe that Richie is in love with Margot. The Royal Tenenbaums' incestuous romance might have prevented it from achieving mainstream success, but it leads to the film's most affecting scene, Richie's suicide attempt. When Raleigh hires a PI to see if Margot is having an affair, Richie is devastated to learn that she'll be with just about anyone besides him. He finally takes off his sunglasses and ritualistically shaves off the beard and long hair he's been hiding behind through the whole film. He says, "I'm gonna kill myself tomorrow."
I'm going to kill myself tomorrow.
But then, almost immediately, he takes out his razor blades and attempts suicide there and then. This little detail captures just how quickly that kind of scary thinking can escalate. "I'm gonna kill myself at some point in the future" can become "I'm gonna kill myself right now" very fast. Elliott Smith's melancholic folk song Needle in the Hay is the perfect musical accompaniment for what is arguably the most tragic sequence of Anderson's career, and the cold blue lighting perfectly captures the gloomy, depressive mood of the scene. On every slash of the blade, Anderson rapidly cuts through a montage of all the images rushing through Richie's mind as he decides to take his own life. The one that keeps coming back is Margot stepping off that bus to meet him at the dock. It was one of the happiest moments of his life, but it also marked the beginning of the end. Anderson gets a lot of criticism for supposedly favouring style over substance, but this is the most harrowingly accurate and deeply heartbreaking cinematic depiction of a suicide attempt I've ever seen.
Dudley, where is he?
Who?
The Royal Tenenbaums ends on a suitably bittersweet note. Royal dies of a heart attack, but he managed to make amends with his family before he went. If Royal had died at the start of the film, it's unlikely that anyone would have come to his funeral, but at the end of it, everyone shows up to pay their respects. Royal ends his life with one last self-propagating lie, an epitaph claiming he died saving his family from a destroyed battleship, closing the film on the perfect punchline. Along with the Grand Budapest Hotel, the Royal Tenenbaums is one of the quintessential Wes Anderson films. It's a quirky, colourful comedy full of eccentric characters, whimsical set design, and huge laughs, but it also broaches taboo subjects head on. It's anchored by one of Gene Hackman's most three-dimensional performances, and it's punctuated with devastating little human moments that ground the story in an emotional reality.
I've always been considered an asshole for about as long as I can remember. That's just my style. But I'd really feel blue if I didn't think you were going to forgive me.
I don't think you're an asshole, Royal. I just think you're kind of a son of a bitch.
Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you liked the video. Remember to like and subscribe and click on the little bell. And also seize the day and call your mom and be kind to yourself.